Welcome back. All right, so 13 games tonight. 8 of them started at the same time, and then there was one a half an hour after that. So, as I said, I did my best. I watched as much as I could, and I made sure I concentrated on the games which have playoff implications potentially where we're going to be on April 29th. And I'm looking forward to April 29th. That's a 15-game night, and then it's done. Then we get into the playoffs, and the playoffs are a much lighter workload for me. So, and I mean, now we're at a 32-team league, so that means half of them are gone. All right, we're going to start off with Chicago and Boston. The Chicago Blackhawks showing that if you don't play your best game, Chicago can hurt you. And so, yeah, it was Lankinen versus Swayman. Early Hawks power play. That was killed off. At 4 minutes and 12 seconds, Coyle scores from Clifton. So Coyle stays hot. The Hawks try to answer. Eventually they do. It's DeBrincat, who's been hot as well, scoring from Kane at 6:41. Howla can't bury one as the Bruins press. Then there was a post for DeBrusk as the Bruins had another press. Hawks get a power play. That's killed off. And after the first period, the score is 1-1. Second period. Early press by the Bruins. However, the first goal of the second period scored by Chicago, who didn't have that many shots, but they were good with them. Hagel, he scores at 4 minutes and 12 seconds. Swayman was out of position on that one. It's one of those things that happens. Bruins try to answer. The glass ends up getting popped out, so they had to take some time to put that back in. Bruins get a power play. That's killed off. The Bruins have another power play shortly after that. Marchand's denied. Ashawn was not. Ashawn gets his first NHL goal from Marchand and Pastrnak at 11:57. Coyle then almost gives Boston the lead. So Boston's tied it up at 2. Hagel's denied as Hagel continues to be, well, Hagel. I've been impressed with Hagel, and I'm glad to see the goals are starting to really show that he's this good. Bruins go back to the power play. They score again on the power play. It's Pastrnak from McAvoy and Bergeron at 15:23. And there's a late press by the Boston Bruins. So coming out of the second period, the score's 3-2 for Boston. But again, the storyline with Boston now has been a matter of trying to keep leads and giving up late goals. So they make it up by allowing an early one. The Hawks get a power play and they score on it. It's Hagel with the second of the game from DeBrincat and Strome at 3:24. The Hawks are pressing at 5 minutes. The shots are 7-0 for the Hawks, 7.5 minutes in. But the Bruins would start to turn around. The momentum goes their way. Bergeron has a rush chance that's held. We get 2 minutes of 4-on-4, and the Bruins are getting a lot of opportunities. Lankinen looked fantastic. He looked like he was going to steal one. But in the final minute, Boston changes the narrative. It's Pastrnak from Bergeron and Hall at 19:42, which brought the crowd up out of their seats. And for Chicago, that's a deflator. Boston wins this one 4-3. They go to 35-18-3 with the win. Chicago drops to 21-30-8 with the loss. Your 3 stars are Pastrnak, Hagel, and Ashawn with his first goal. Shots 10-8 Chicago in the first, 9-3 Boston in the second, 19-12 Boston in the third. The final shots 36-25 for Boston. Power plays Chicago 1 for 3, Boston 2 for 3, and the hits 28-26 for Chicago. Lankinen saves 32 out of 36. Swayman saves 22 out of 25. And the Bruins survive a scare tonight. Next up, Vegas. So this was kind of the one everybody was looking at. Now, this was when they broadcast these games on ESPN Plus, I'm thinking, I understand what they're trying to do, but at the same time, you're taking a game that might get a lot of mainstream interest, and you're keeping a lot of people from seeing it. So it's Brossoit versus Anderson in this one, and of course, it is the storyline of Jack Eichel and his return to Buffalo. Sabres had the only shot of the game 3 minutes in, and they had a game plan. They executed it pretty well in the first. We get a power play for the Sabres. Vegas killed it off. There was just the one shot for Buffalo. However, at this point, the shots are 6-0 in their favor. There's an Eichel video package, and there's some thanks, and there's some glad you're gone, and there's some booing, and there's signs of various natures. So fans have an opinion on Jack Eichel. And Krebs, who used to be Vegas property, scores from Hinostroza and Cousins at 7:53. In fact, at 9 minutes, Vegas only had one shot. So Buffalo comes out and they play very well against Vegas. Vegas, of course, coming off of a loss against Philly, really needed this win tonight. Vegas gets a power play. That's killed off. A Vegas 2-on-1 draws a second penalty for Peyton Krebs. So Krebs had a good game, but he also took a couple of penalties. So that's killed off, but Vegas gets a third power play before the end of the period. It had 24 seconds left at the start of the second, so Sabres finish off the kill. The Sabres have a 2-on-1 that's defended. The shots are 7-1 for Vegas at 5.5 minutes. So Vegas, clearly something happens between the first and second. They're playing much, much better. Sabres get a power play. Vegas kills that off. They get some pressure with 6.5 minutes left. Vegas gets a power play. Killed off again. Sabres press with 1.5 left, but they nurse that 1-goal lead into the third period. Well, it's Vegas. We've seen them come back many times over this season. The expectation was there for me. Now, the shots are 4-3 for the Sabres at 5 minutes, and every time Eichel touches the puck, he's still getting booed. So they are absolutely doubling down on booing him every time he touches the puck. Sabres get a power play. It's killed off. But Vegas does tie it. It's Ben Hutton at 12 minutes and 1 second. Makes it a 1-1 tie. But with 5:27 left, the Sabres get a power play. And at 16-16, it is Olofsson scoring on the power play from Okposo and Yoki Harju. That makes it 2-1. Then there's a near miss for Okposo with 1:30 left. But Vegas pulls the goalie. That allows Tuck, former Vegas Golden Knight Alex Tuck, to get the one that clinches it at 19-24. Your final score is 3-1 in favor of the Buffalo Sabres. They go to 19-32-8 with the win. With the loss, Vegas 32-23-4. So again, I kept hearing, it's okay, Vegas is struggling, but they have an easy schedule from here. You have to win the easy games. They lost in Philly. They lost in Buffalo. The easy schedule doesn't matter if you're losing the games. 3 stars are Anderson, Krebs, and Tuck. The shots, 11-7 Buffalo in the first, 15-3 Vegas in the second, 10-9 Buffalo in the third. Final shots, 31-24 for Vegas. Power plays, 0-4 for Vegas, 1-4 for Buffalo. The hits, 14-11 for the Vegas Golden Knights. Brossoit saves 21 out of 23. Craig Anderson, 30 saves on 31 shots. He gets his 300th win. He's the 6th American goaltender to do so. He is the 39th goaltender to get 300 wins. That's a pretty big milestone. We'll see if there's a video on that at some point on this channel. So, yeah, big win. And after the game, Eichel said that this was the loudest he'd ever seen the building. And he guesses it just took 7 years of getting rid of him. And, yeah, so I get the feeling that this rivalry will continue anytime that the Vegas Golden Knights come in to play Buffalo. If Eichel's in the lineup, I think we'll see a similar reaction from Buffalo fans. Next up, Arizona. So you look at this one this morning and you think, well, Toronto's not going to fall for the trap of Arizona again. Here we go. It's Wedgwood versus Mrazek. Early chance for the Coyotes, and Galchenyuk scores from Nash at 2:09. Worse yet, Mrazek misplayed it on the play. So what should have been a caught save ends up going right to Galchenyuk, just puts it in the net. Matthews with a net feed, that won't go. But then at 4:21, it is Chychrun from Kessel and Galchenyuk. So Galchenyuk, former Maple Leaf with a goal and an assist to this point, and Kessel, former Maple Leaf with an assist. The Coyotes then get a power play. Tavares has a rush chance out of the box. That won't go. The shots are 6-2 for Arizona at 9 minutes. The Coyotes were playing very well. And all of a sudden, they know how to score a bunch of goals. I'm not sure what's going on with Arizona, but yeah, all of a sudden, they're able to score a whole bunch of goals. Matthews with a rush chance, that's kicked out. We get long stretches without a whistle as well in that first period. Better second half for the Leafs. Schmaltz with a net feed, that wouldn't go. But after this first period, it's 2-0 Arizona. Second period, 1 minute and 8 seconds in. The first shot of the second period, and Boyd scores from Keller and Schmaltz. So all of a sudden, it is 3-0 in favor of the Arizona Coyotes in Toronto. Leafs try to answer. Matthews nearly sets up Hall. And then Engvall scores to put Toronto on the board from Kerfoot and Liljegren at 4:55. Makes it 3-1. There's momentum for Toronto, but Christian Fischer, who's starting to heat up, I think this is back-to-back games with a goal for him. He scores from Mosier and Maselli at 11:57, and that's the end of the night for Mrazek. Mrazek's done. In comes Shalgren. So, yeah, it is bizarre. Shalgren holds the fort for the rest of that second period. We go to the third, and of course, in between the second and third, the Sportsnet crew was talking about goaltending with the Maple Leafs. Oh, it's an interesting time for Toronto. So third period, 3:38 in, Kerfoot scores to make it a 3-2 game from or 4-2 game, I should say, from Brody and Nylander. Engvall then has a rush chance save. The Leafs press for another, and Matthews would score at 8:07. And what happened is that it went in. Matthews knew it went in, and the horn sounded during the play to say, yep, we've looked at it and it's in the net. And 10 seconds later, Nylander scores, and suddenly it's a tie game. So we've got Hall & Oates playing. Everything's going well. Toronto's escaped this scare. Or have they? Leafs press for the lead. The shots were 12-4 for the Leafs with 6.5 minutes left, and it didn't change. Marner with a rush. He fires wide. But yeah, Toronto had opportunities. We go to overtime. Leafs control early on the overtime. Marner can't bury one. Keller was robbed by Shalgren. Nylander is denied on a break. Kessel ends up hitting a post. Chychrun doesn't. Chychrun from Maselli at 3:17. And so Chychrun, with a couple of goals in this one, playing against a team that might need a defenseman, played pretty well. Arizona wins in Toronto 5-4 in overtime. They go to 18-35-4. Toronto drops to 37-16-5. And they gained a point on one of the teams they're chasing. So your three stars are Chychrun, Kerfoot, and Galchenyuk. Your shots, 8-7 in the first for Toronto, 11-9 Toronto in the second, 18-5 Toronto in the third, and in the overtime the shots were 2-1 for Arizona, including the shot that matters for Chychrun. Final shots 38-23 in favor of Toronto. And of course, with the Chychrun goal, Matthews did feel like he was hooked. So there was some controversy in the Washington-Calgary game. There's controversy at the end of this one too. Matthews was livid. And here's where it comes up, because there was one power play in the game for Arizona, none for Toronto. So they were just like not calling anything, which in the playoffs we get used to it. At this time of year, not so much. The hits were 42-32 for Toronto. Wedgwood saves 34 out of 38. Mrazek saves 8 out of 12. Shalgren saves 10 out of 11. So while the controversy about that game-winning goal will be there for Leafs fans, I think the biggest concern has to be the play of Mrazek. Now that Campbell's out, is Shalgren going to end up getting starts? Is he going to end up being the answer? We've seen young goaltenders come up and be the answer. For Toronto, again, they get the point, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting trade deadline with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Next up, Seattle in against the Ottawa Senators, and there was a big lead until it was gone, like Kaiser Soze. So Drieger versus Forsberg in this one. Shots are 4-2 for Seattle at 6.5 minutes, so they have a decent start. Wouldn't last. Seattle scored, however, that's determined to be offside. So with that offside goal off the board, Ottawa says, fine, we'll score first. It's Norris from Tkachuk and Holden at 8:32. The Sens did get stuck on 5 shots for a large portion of that first period, but they come out of the first period with a 1-0 lead. Second period, early chance for the Sens. Power play for Ottawa. Seattle kills it off, no shots. The shots are 5-1, though, for the Senators at 5.5 minutes, and then Tkachuk scores to put them up 2-0 from Zub and Stützle at 5:43. And then Parker Kelly, I like Parker Kelly, he scores at 7:40. That makes it 3-0. Seattle gets a power play. It is unsuccessful. Then Ottawa gets a power play, also unsuccessful. So we go to the third period. It's a 3-0 lead for Ottawa. Well, Seattle's not coming back from 3 down. Where are they? So the shots are 1 apiece at 3 minutes, and it was a pretty quiet period for shots until McCann scores from Dunn and Eberle at 9:14 to make it 3-1. 36 seconds later, at 9 minutes and 50 seconds, Donato scores from Soucy. So this is where you got to be concerned if you're Ottawa, because all of a sudden it's 3-2. Shots are 11-7 for Seattle with 8 minutes left, so they were playing well. In fact, Ottawa doesn't get a shot for those last 8 minutes. And then Appleton ties it from Gordon Blackwell at 13:01. So as we come out of that third period, it's 3-3. We're going to overtime. And, I mean, it probably would have been suitable for Seattle to win, considering they came back from 3-0 down. But Seattle, in extra time, anyways, Senators would get a power play. And the funny thing is, as I'm turning this game on, because a lot of other games are not like, oh, I'll watch some of this overtime. Power play, and Norris scored immediately. So Norris gets the goal from Chabot and Connor Brown at 2:34. And so Ottawa, they survive the scare. They win 4-3 in overtime. For Seattle, they're 17-37-6. Meaning, with Arizona winning, Seattle losing, Seattle and Arizona are now tied in points. Now, Arizona has one more win. I don't know if they have more regulation wins. I've not looked yet. But it does mean that Seattle is really flirting with a rock bottom here. For Ottawa, they're 21-31-5 with the victory. And again, it's got to feel like they kind of got away with one tonight. Your 3 stars are Norris, Tkachuk, and Appleton. Your shots, 8-7 Seattle in the first, 12-10 Ottawa in the second, 15-7 Seattle in the third, and in the overtime, just the 1 shot for Ottawa. Final shots, 33-27 Seattle. Power plays, 0 for 1 for Seattle, 1 for 3 for Ottawa. Hits, 29-21 for Ottawa. Drieger saves 23 out of 27. Forsberg, another good statistical game, 30 saves on 33 shots. So yeah, that happened. And then the Wild and Detroit. So who wants to see these teams play each other once a week, right? It's Talbot versus Nedeljkovic, and we had no idea how crazy this game was going to get. And I did get concerned I might not have enough room in this column for everything that was going to happen once the goals start going. So Leddy fires one wide on a rush, but on the first shot Minnesota gets, it goes in the net. It's Boldy from Fiala and Gaudreau at 1:37. And the shots 4 minutes into this are 4-0 for the Wild, so they came out and were playing well. But Vrana scores his second in the same amount of games he's played since returning from Veleno at 6:14. The Wings then get a power play. Minnesota does kill that off. They allow the 1 shot. And then it's Eriksson Ek at 12:02 that gives Minnesota back the lead. However, Detroit answers. It's Raymond from Leddy and Nedeljkovic at 14:09. Goaltenders got on the score sheet a couple of times tonight. Wings get a power play. We then get 21 seconds of 5-on-3. They don't score on the 5-on-3, and right near the end of the 5-on-4, they score. And it's Vrana with his second goal of the game from Hronek and Leddy at 18:31. So suddenly after the first period, it's 3-2 in favor of Detroit. And I'm looking at this going, this could be a very, very interesting game. Second period, Wings have the early edge. Gaudreau's denied in close. And then the Wings add to their lead. It's Raymond from Leddy and Nemesnikov at 5:52. So Raymond with a couple of goals, but the Wild get a power play, and they score on it. It's Zuccarello from Spurgeon and Hartman at 9:31. The Wings try to answer. The Wild would tie it, but Detroit gets that goal called back for goalie interference. So that's a successful challenge for goalie interference. Feels like we haven't seen as many of those lately as we used to. So the Wings press with 4 minutes left, and then at the horn, they decided to have a brawl, which led to some blood on the ice, and Talbot going down the ice to meet with Nedeljkovic and have a little chat. And again, you know, there was some serious dislike in a game between two teams that almost never see each other. So that happened at the end, and so what happens is the Wild end up with the extra penalty, right? Talbot leaving his crease, going down the ice. That's the extra penalty. And so the Wings have a full power play to start. The Wild do kill that off, and then Boldy scores from Gaudreau and Goligoski at 3:04. And the Wild had 5 straight shots on net at that point as well. They were definitely pressuring, understanding, I think, how important this game is to Minnesota. 2 minutes of 4-on-4 would happen. Kaprizov ends up getting a goal to put Minnesota in the lead from Dumba and Eriksson Ek at 12:13, so that makes it 5-4. But that lead doesn't last. At 17:09, it's Osterley scoring for the Detroit Red Wings from Zadina and Veleno. So it's 5-5, and we're headed to overtime. In the overtime, Wings control early. Raymond has a shot that deflects out. Fiala was denied. Goligoski has a chance that's held, and Zadina had a shot, also deflects out. So we end up having to go to a shootout. And in the shootout, Minnesota gets the goals. It's Zuccarello, it's Fiala. They both score. Detroit doesn't register a goal in it. So, yeah, Minnesota. Ned broke his stick after that. Nedeljkovic wasn't happy with the way that shootout ended. Stick might have been a day away from retirement. So your final score is 6-5 in a shootout. Minnesota does survive a scare as well. 34-19-3 in a shootout victory. And in the shootout loss, Detroit drops to 24-27-7. Your stars, Boldy, Raymond, and Zuccarello. Your shots, 10-9 Detroit in the first, 9-8 Minnesota in the second, 16-15 Detroit in the third. Minnesota outshot them 7-0 in the overtime. Final shots, 40-34 for Minnesota. Power plays, Minnesota 1 for 1. They were very economical, got it done. Detroit 1 for 4 hits, 38-27 in favor of Minnesota. Talbot saves 29 out of 34. Nedeljkovic saves 35 out of 40. So again, Detroit's still allowing too many goals against, but at least they got 5. So there's that. Anyways, now I need to change boards. So on the second board of 5 games, and I have to say, the 5 games on one board. It was one of the smarter decisions I've made in years. It was so much better, so much less stressful. Anyways, Philadelphia and Florida. So Philadelphia made a game out of it until they didn't. It's Hart versus Bobrovsky. Things are evenly played early. Vetrano has a chance that's saved and held, but Verhaeghe gets Florida on the board. So scores from Barkov and Ekblad at 3:25. The Flyers get a power play. That's killed off. The shots are 8-7 for the Flyers with 8 minutes left. So the Flyers are playing well, but doesn't matter. The Panthers get a power play and they score on it. The Florida Panthers power play. Remember when that was a weakness I pointed out? I said they have 2 weaknesses: their power play and their road record. Those are 2 of their strengths now, are their road record and their power play. Reinhart scores from Huberdeau and Ekblad at 14-12. Things get chirpy as the Panthers go back to the power play, so they score on that one too. And it's Reinhart from Huberdeau and Barkov at 18-11. He likes batting him out of the air, doesn't he? So the Panthers are in total control, and then Verhaeghe scores at 19 minutes and 30 seconds. And, you know, Verhaeghe was kind of fortunate that the Flyers' defense just sort of backs in and gives them the net. I can see why the Flyers are determined to keep that defense together. So at this point, Florida fans are chanting, "We want 10." And with 4 goals in the first period, you can see how they do math and go 4 times 3 is 10. So with 1.5 seconds left, the Flyers get a power play. So that starts the second, and the Panthers kill that power play to start the second period. The shots are 4-2 for the Flyers at 5.5 minutes. I am aware that 4 times 3 is not 10. The Panthers get a power play. Now, what's interesting is I write that, and yet the game the game numbers tell me the Florida Panthers were 3 for 3. So I may have written down Panthers get a power play, and it was actually a Flyers power play. It's possible with all those games going on, and I apologize. So JVR scores from Hayes at 9:01 to make it 4-1. So again, it's 4-1, but it's Florida. Atkinson, though, tightens up the game a bit from Brassard and Giroux at 12:23. So now the Flyers are back in the game. There's a power play for the Flyers. Bobrovsky denies Farabee, does not deny Konechny. Konechny gets a goal from York and Lindblom at 18:52. So coming out of the second period, all of a sudden this sure thing of a game doesn't look quite so sure as it did after the first. Third period, Panthers get a power play, and they score on it. It's Duclair from Huberdeau and Ekblad at 6:59. We get 2 minutes of 4-on-4. Nothing happens there, but eventually Philadelphia pulls the goalie because they're down by 2, so why not? And so Reinhart decides why not get a hat trick. He scores from Huberdeau and Ekblad at 17:54. Final score is 6-3 for Florida. They go to 40-13-5. Philadelphia 18-29-10 with the loss. Your 3 stars are Reinhart, Huberdeau, and Verhaeghe. Shots 18-15 Florida in the first. Defense was iffy. 16-7 Philadelphia in the second. 12-6 Florida in the third. Final shots are 37-37. Power plays Philadelphia 1 for 3. And like I said, Florida was 3 for 3. So, yeah. Hits 33-18 for Philadelphia. Carter Hart saves 31 out of 36. It's not the only goaltender to get a save percentage below 900 against Florida. Don't think anything of it. Bobrovsky saves 34 out of 37. He just allowed the 3 in the second period on 16 shots. Outside of that, he was perfect. So Florida wins this one, and they extended their lead atop the division. You guys will find out why when we get to that game. All right, next up, Winnipeg. So the Winnipeg Jets in against New Jersey. Keep in mind, this is 2 teams that are not in the playoffs. So Florida's in the playoffs, so more attention paid to this than paid to this. So Winnipeg in against New Jersey, and first period, we have Comrie versus Dawes. It was Zajac night. You know, the funny thing is, they have Zajac out there, and for a moment, I had one of those brain farts where I was like, well, yeah, he's playing, isn't he? And I realized, oh, right, he got traded to the Islanders, and then he retired. And, yeah, whoops. So, Zajac's out there. Yeah, he doesn't look right in any other jersey. He should have retired as a Devil. I 100% agree with that sentiment that was expressed before the game. So there's an early press by the Jets. Eventually, Dillon gets a goal from Scheifele and Wheeler at 3:22. Connor then has a rush chance that's saved. The shots are 4 apiece at the half. The Devils get a power play. That's killed off. Wheeler has a net drive that's defended. The Devils go back to the power play, and they score on this one. It is Jack Hughes from Bratt and Severson at 18:27. So those guys stay hot. And then in the last minute, the Jets had a rush chance. That was defended by the Devils. So after the first period, it's 1-1. Second period, the Devils had the only shot 4 minutes into the period. There's a press by the Devils 6 minutes in. The Jets, at 11 minutes, they only had 2 shots in the game. But in the final minute of the second period, Kyle Connor does it by himself. Just, I'll do it. 1906, he scores to make it 2-1 for Winnipeg after 2. Third period, early power play for the Devils. Severson has a shot that's saved. There's a shorthanded chance for Connor. That was saved. Devils were getting zone time, but they weren't getting enough shots, and when they did, Eric Comrie was fantastic. Dubois has a rush chance that's saved and held. The Jets get a power play. It's killed off. Takes 2 more minutes off the clock, and eventually they hold on. They win this one 2-1. The Devils did pull the goalie. Doesn't matter. 26, 22, and 10 now is the record for the Jets. Highly unlikely that they make the playoffs, but at least they win a game they should. For New Jersey, they're 21, 32, and 5 on the season. Your 3 stars are Comrie, Connor, and Hughes. The shots, 15-9 New Jersey in the first, 11-7 New Jersey in the second, 14-8 Winnipeg in the third. Final shots, 34-30 for the Devils. Power plays, Winnipeg 0 for 2, New Jersey 1 for 3. The hits, 17-10 for Winnipeg. Comrie saves 33 out of 34. Dawes saves 28 out of 30. So both goaltenders did really well, and this is the kind of game the Jets need, because you're going to need to rest Hellebuck. There's a lot of games over a short period of time, and knowing that Comrie can go in there and give a night like this, that should at least get him some more starts, right? All right, that being said, Colorado. So it's interesting. The Colorado-Carolina game ends up being kind of short this way, but it's a goal thing, right? So it looks like, well, Shannon didn't pay attention to this. There weren't goals in this one. There were a lot of goals in this one. So it's Kemper versus Ronta. There's an early press by the Canes. In fact, 3 minutes into this, the shots are 4-0 for Carolina. So it really looked like Colorado had a real struggle getting into this game early. Natchez nearly buries one on a turnover. The Canes were already 10 shots up with just 7 minutes into the game. So they already had 10 shots, and I think Colorado had 1. They had 1 or 2. So power play for the Canes, that was killed off. Eric Johnson has a rush chance, that saved. The Abs get a power play. It's also killed off, so both teams 0 for 1 in the first. And it's scoreless after 1. It is a goaltender's duel because there were 30 shots in that first period. None of them went in the net. Second period, Canes had a 3-on-2 that misfires. The shots are 2-1 for the Abs at 4 minutes. So they're doing a better job early in that period anyways of making sure the Canes aren't getting those transition chances. They're not getting shots on the net. Post then for Rantanen. There's pressure by the Abs at 7.5 minutes. Overall shots too favored the Abs. They was heavily in favor of the Canes, and it starts to turn. You can see the momentum's turning in favor of Colorado. The Abs get a power play. It's killed off, and again, it felt like with the way the goaltenders were playing, that first goal was going to be huge. The Abs get another power play. That was killed off. Through 2 periods, 53 shots in this game. None of them have gone in. Not one. So third period, the Canes get a power play. That was killed off. The shots are 3-1 for the Canes at 4 minutes. So it's a similar start to the first period. And with 12:16 left, the Canes get their third power play of the game. They don't score on it. But with 5 minutes and 40 seconds left at 14:20, it is Bear from fast. And what's interesting with this one is Kemper came out of the net and he played it around the boards. It was a failed clear. Ends up on fast stick. He gives it to Bear. And it looked like it was tipped too. So it's one of those goals. It just goes in and it's 1-0. And after all kinds of great saves by Kemper, that one goes in. 5:18 left. The Canes get a power play. That was killed off. Eventually, Colorado pulls the goalie. That allows Sebastian Aho to hit the empty net at 18:28. And your final score is 2-0 in favor of the Carolina Hurricanes. They go to 40-12-5 with the win. Colorado looking human all of a sudden. 41-13-5 with the loss. Your 3 stars are Ronta, Bear, and Slavin. Shots, 19-11 Carolina in the first. 17-6 Colorado in the second. 12-8 Carolina in the third. Final shots, 37-36 for the Hurricanes. Power plays, Colorado 0 for 3, Carolina 0 for 4. Hits 27-24 in favor of Colorado. Kemper, he saves 35 out of 36. He was excellent, but Ronta saves all 36 shots. And there you go. His second shutout this season and the 15th of his career. And so with Freddie Anderson on the shelf, it's nice to see this kind of an effort from Ronta. We'll see if he's able to keep that up. All right, so that was a very entertaining game. But again, not a whole lot to add to it because it was a very low-scoring game as well. All right, next up, Columbus. So the the one no mercy magnet, because if it's 5 goals or more in favor of one team, if they win by 5 goals or more, it's a no mercy game. And who saw that coming for the Islanders? So Columbus, a team that has been trying to stay in the hunt, I would say that the last 10 days, we've seen them completely fall out of the hunt again. So it's Korpisalo versus Sorokin. The shots are only one apiece at 3.5 minutes because it's an Islanders game. So it's low shots and probably a fast game with not very many penalties and all that. But we would get some penalties, and it didn't feel like your usual Islanders game here. So Columbus presses at 6 minutes. The Islanders end up getting a power play. Shorthanded break for Jenner, but he fires wide on that. We then get a minute and 38 seconds of 5-on-3, and some of the pushings going on between these teams. Nelson scores during the 5-on-3 from Bailey, and the secondary assist was Dobson was the secondary assist. So I wrote Nelson from Bailey and Nelson. It's Dobson. It's a son, just the wrong son. Columbus did kill off the 5-on-4. Columbus then has a power play with 2 seconds left. Second period, the Islanders took that 158, killed the whole thing off. Shots are 3-0 for Columbus at 4 minutes, so they're playing well, but the next goal is, once again, the Islanders. It's Bailey from Palmieri and Dobson. I wrote Dobson there, not Nelson, at 6:08. Kind of proud of myself on that one. I only got his name wrong once. So, power play for Columbus, again, doesn't work. And then Lee scores from Pellick and Beauvillier at 13:49. So we get 2 minutes of 4-on-4. Columbus would get a power play. They then got a 5-on-3, and it became a 4-on-3. And then during the 4-on-3, Pajot scores a shorthanded goal from Pulock at 17:44. And the announcer said it is the first time in Islanders history, and this has only been tracked for 15 years. It's the first time in recorded history that the Islanders have scored a goal during a shorthanded opportunity when it was a 4-on-3. So it's one of those weird stats that somebody mined and found, and those stats guys are cool. Anyways, Columbus gets another power play, because of course they do. It doesn't work. 52 seconds of it left going into the third period. And they just kill that off. And I've always felt like, when a team takes 6 or 7 penalties, but they've killed off the first 5 or 6, it feels like they're just in the zone at that point. Like, yeah, this is easy. We know what we're doing. So the shots are 2-1 for Columbus at 9.5 minutes. At this point, we've got to get this game over with. Lee, though, scores from Beauvillier and Pulock at 11:57. So that makes it 5-0. Nelson then nearly adds another one. So the Islanders aren't done yet. Columbus gets another power play. For the record, Casey Cizikas takes 4 penalties. He did his best to help out Columbus. It just didn't help. The Islanders did kill that off. And then in the last minute, the Islanders get a power play. And it is Lee with his first career hat trick at 19:58. So with less than 2 seconds left, he scores. I was surprised it was Lee's first career hat trick. But there we go. The Islanders win this one 6-0. Yeah. So they go to 22-24-8 for Columbus, 28-27-3. The 3 stars in this one, Sorokin, Lee, and Bailey. Your shots, 9-8 Columbus in the first, 13 apiece in the second, and then in the third, 12-3 for the Islanders. So lots of power play time for Columbus. They don't get anything out of it. Final shots are 33-25 for the Islanders. Power plays, Columbus 0 for 5. The Islanders 2 for 3. Hits 18-14 for Columbus. Sorokin saves all 25 shots for his 9th career shutout and his 6th this season. Korpisalo saved 27 out of 32 at the other end. And that should be 27 out of 33. So I'll go ahead and just change that now. You guys can talk amongst yourselves and discuss the longest review video I've ever done, which was, I think, 61 minutes is the longest review video I've ever done. I think that's what it was. I think it was a couple years ago. I think it was 61 minutes. So this one's not going to get close to that. All right, next up. Last one on this board is the Rangers and the St. Louis Blues. So I was expecting a great game here, and a great game if you're a Blues fan, isn't it? So eventually Shesterkin has to have a game where his stats aren't absolutely fantastic. So we have that tonight. It makes some sense because St. Louis came into this one struggling and needing goals. They get them. So it's Shesterkin versus Husso. Early edge for the Blues. Blues get a power play. They then had a 5-on-3. That was killed off, but the shots are 9-0. St. Louis at 7.5 minutes. Blues get a third power play. It doesn't score either, but after it's done, Thomas scores from Cairo and Parayko at 13:05. And then 45 seconds later, it's Barbashev, who's on an amazing run. He scores from Saad and Krug. So 13:50 in, and it's all of a sudden 2-0. The Blues almost add another, and then they do. It's Thomas from Kyrou and Tarasenko at 15:41, but the Rangers get a power play. For the record, they score. It is Strome from Fox and Shesterkin at 18:37. Yes, goaltender on the board in that one too. Tarasenko's denied. The Blues would press, but after the first period, it's 3-1 in favor of St. Louis. Second period. O'Reilly waited 15 seconds. Yep. He scores from Shannon Perron, and that would be the end of the night for Shesterkin. He's done. So in goes Georgiev, and at 7:07, he allows his first goal. It's Wallman from Bortuzzo and O'Reilly, and he kind of fell down. He just kind of fell over, and it went in the net. So Perron would add one 38 seconds later, because why not? Don't even bother picking yourself up. Scandella and Shen with the assists at 7:45. So it's 6-1. So it's 6-1. There's really no doubt at that point in the game. The Rangers get a power play. It's killed off, but the Rangers get another, and Keandre Miller ends up getting the power play goal from Panarin and Fox at 12:23. So that makes it 6-2, but that's your score coming out of the second period. So the Rangers had opportunities. They actually had a good period, but Husso had a good period too. Third period, Hunt has a net feed that's cleared. Trouba has a shot that deflects out. 6 minutes into the period, the shots are 3 apiece. Blues press at the half. Kyrou has a shot that's saved on a tip. We get 2 minutes of 4-on-4. Tarasenko has a chance that deflects out, and the Blues just kill the rest of the game. They win this one 6-2. They go to 33-17-7 with the win. For the Rangers, they're 36-17-5 with the loss. This was their opportunity to move ahead of Pittsburgh. They don't take it, and with Carolina winning, they fall further behind the Canes. So your 3 stars are Thomas, Husso, and O'Reilly. And I like seeing Husso in the 3 stars because very often when it's a lopsided score like this, a goaltender having a really good game, it can get overlooked, right? So your shots are 16-11 for St. Louis in the first, 14-9 Rangers in the second, and then in the third, it's all St. Louis. 10-4 your shots in the third for them. Final shots 35-29 in favor of the Blues. The Rangers were 2 for 3 on the power play. St. Louis was 0 for 3. So special teams are still an issue for St. Louis, but when you score 6 at 5-on-5, it feels a little better. Hits are 27-18 for the Rangers. Shesterkin saved 13 out of 17. Georgiev saved 16 out of 18. And for Husso, he saved 27 out of 29. So very good game for Husso and pretty solid game for the Blues. And now I need to change boards. And then we go back to the boards with the 4 games on them. So, and the 5-game boards I'm going to be using on the really busy nights and for nights where there's just 5 games. So it was Nashville at home against the Anaheim Ducks. And for the Ducks, I mean, I've started seeing reports on who might be available at the deadline and who's getting sold off. I think the Ducks doing the math and looking at how many extra games they've played over the teams that they're chasing, the math just doesn't work for them now. So it's Gibson versus Saros, early edge for Nashville. Post for Jeannot as they press. Then there's a post for McCarron, and it's all Nashville. The shots are 5-3 for the Preds at 7 minutes, but remember, that's 2 posts as well. So it's a little more lopsided than 5-3 would tell you. The Predators get a power play, and they score on it. It's Duchesne from Forsberg and Granlund at 10:53. The Ducks challenge the next goal as being offside. It was a Jeannot goal, and yeah, as soon as they challenge for offside, it's coming off the board. Yossi then has a rush chance that's defended. McCarron says goal. And there's a delay, and then the refs kind of point, and then there's this celebration, and the song plays, and then the review shows the puck never crossed the line. So if your team is having a hard time, just throw your arms in the air and say we scored, and you'll get a nice timeout. The refs will go check it out and see if the puck crossed the line. It's weird. So yeah, the review showed it wasn't in, so it's still 1-0 after the first period for Nashville. Second period, Ducks get a power play. That was killed off. 9 minutes left in the period. The shots are 9-2 for the Preds. So when I'm looking through the games, this one just, every time I went to the game, the puck's in Anaheim's zone. Forsberg would score from Duchesne at 11:41. Now, in the second, after that, the Ducks did have their opportunities. But with 2:19 left, the Preds get another power play. That's killed off. So we go to the third period with the score 2-0 for Nashville. Early press by the Ducks. Then there was a near miss for Johansson at the Anaheim net. Gibson holds as Nashville was pressuring. The shots are only 1 apiece at 5 minutes. Perfectly fine with Nashville. They're up 2-0. Terry has a net drive that's defended. There really wasn't any room out there for the Anaheim Ducks. Carrier has a net feed. That's covered. And then Henrique. He scores to put them on the board from her at 14-14. And on the next shift, Raquel almost tied it. So it got close. With 4:48 left, Terry then draws a power play. So here we go. But during that power play, Sam Steele takes a puck to the face, and it was ugly. Lot of blood on the ice. It took a while to clean it up. And so that seemed to really take whatever starch that they had going for them at that point for the Ducks, and it kind of took it out of them. So the Preds finished killing it off, and then at 17:30, Sissons with a beautiful goal. He fires it high on a fast break. He makes it a 3-1 score, and then with the empty netter, it's Duchesne from Forsberg and Yossi at 18-19. So Duchesne with a couple of goals again, Forsberg with a goal and 2 assists. Your final score is 4-1. Nashville goes to 33-20-4. For the Ducks, they're now 27-24-9. Your 3 stars are Duchesne, Saros, and Forsberg. Your shots, 10 apiece in the first, 14-11 Nashville in the second, 7-6 Anaheim in the third. Final shots, 30-28 for the Predators. Power plays, 0-3 for Anaheim, 1-2 for Nashville. Hits, 34-29 for Nashville. Gibson saves 26 out of 29. Saros, 27 out of 28. So pretty good night for Saros. And yeah, in the end, Anaheim just doesn't have the firepower right now. And so they have another setback. All right, Tampa. So for Calgary, we're watching now as they're winning over more and more fans, right? If anybody wants to say, well, they've had an easier schedule. Not now. This is a Tampa Bay team that needed a win tonight. And so this is what I mean by, even though Toronto had a rough night, they gain a point on Tampa. And for Florida, they gain a couple on Tampa. So it's Vasilevsky versus Markstrom in this one. Early chance for the Flames. Then there's a power play for Calgary. That was killed off, but they would get another. And they score on that one. And it's Johnny Gaudreau from Toffoli and Anderson at 7:35. So Toffoli, point per game. He's been pretty reliable for them. The shots are 11-5 for the Flames at the half. But then the shots are evened up. Tampa has almost all the pressure in that second half of the period. Bolts get a power play. It was a 4-minute power play. Killorn's denied. They have some opportunities. There's some good penalty killing going on for Calgary too. So we have 50 seconds of that 4-minute power play that remains to start the second period, and the Flames did finish the kill. So scary, sure, but they survive it. Tkachuk was then robbed. Linesman gets hit with the puck, and he was not with it. They helped him up and helped him off the ice, but he had some wobbly legs going on there. I don't think he knew where he was. I don't think he knew much about what was going on. I hope he's all right. Palat's then denied as the... I've jumped ahead. McDonough fires one wide when we get back to the action. The Bolts press at 8.5 minutes, and they draw themselves a power play. That's killed off. The Flames then rush. Vasilevsky clears that rush out. Palat's denied as the Bolts then press. Tkachuk has a shot that's saved when the Flames are pushing back. Toffoli with a rush chance, that's saved. And then Killorn ties the game. He scores from Colton and Joseph at 15:40. And it stays that way until the final minute. It's Johnny Gaudreau from Matthew Tkachuk at 19 minutes. And he caught Vasilevsky cheating off the post. So both of Gaudreau's goals were ones where he kind of outsmarted Vasilevsky. And then with 8 seconds left in the period, Backlund scores from Goodbranson and Lewis. So in 1952, that makes it 3-1. And you know what's interesting with Calgary right now? When they were up 2 goals after that second period, I had no doubt they were going to win it. I had no doubt they were going to hold on to the lead. And yeah, in the third period, that's kind of how that turns out. Vasilevsky's sharp as the Flames are seeking an early one. Point has a chance this block. The shot's 5.5 minutes into the period, 3-0 for Calgary. So they hadn't allowed a shot against Tampa. Flames have a 4-on-2. Lucic fires wide there. The fans really wanted a Lucic goal. Coleman's denied from the slot. Tkachuk can't bury one from in close. And then at 13:44, Gaudreau gets the hat trick. He scores from Lindholm and Anderson. Makes it 4-1. There's a late power play then for the Flames. And then Monahan had hit Stamkos. Clean hit. Stamkos didn't like it, so Stamkos chose violence and went after Monahan. He got 4 minutes for it. Monahan didn't get anything. So that made it a 5-on-3. The Flames don't score. But if that had been... Because it's in the final minute of the period, if they had decided that was a fight and he got the instigator, he being Stamkos, might have been looking at a suspension. But anyways, it's not an instigator. Wasn't a fight. Your final score is 4-1. The Flames go to 35-15-7. Tampa Bay 37-14-6. So, yeah, Calgary, they're legit. And their lead atop the division widens a little bit with tonight's results. Your 3 stars are Gaudreau, Markstrom, and Goodbranson. Your shots are 13-11 Tampa in the first, 14-13 Calgary in the second, 7-5 Calgary in the third. They really shut them down nicely in the third. Final shots 32-31 for Calgary. Power plays Tampa 0 for 3. Calgary 1 for 5. Your hits 17-14 for the Flames. Vasilevsky saves 28 out of 32. Markstrom saves 30 out of 31. Excellent night. Excellent night for the Flames. Full 60-minute game. There's not a whole lot else I can say to compliment their game other than it feels like they're getting better. So I understand that for people who don't watch a lot of the Flames, they might think there's too much hype. I really don't think there is. I think they're a legit threat at this point. That said, moving along, last game of the night, San Jose and LA. How did I know this was going to overtime? Because it started an hour and a half after this one. This review would have already been online. I had already been in the bedroom watching cooking shows with my wife. So, but instead, I'm watching San Jose and the Kings. So it's Sawchenko versus Quick, and at least one of them's in the playoffs. So there's interest in that for me, right? So Bonino with a rush chance that deflects wide. The Sharks get a power play and they score on it. And it's Brent Burns. He scores from Karlsson and Couture at 2:39. The Kings then press for another. Or the Kings press for an answer. Sorry. Shots are 5-3 for the Sharks at 6 minutes. But so this is wrong. That's at 5.5 minutes. At 5:58. Hey, I had 13 games to watch. I'm correcting it as I go. Danault, Fomor, and Athanasiou happens at 5:58, and they enjoyed that so much on that mishandle by Sawchenko, which once that happened, the Kings announcers basically talked about Sawchenko like he was constantly fumbling the puck and he was terrible. And then 8 seconds later, Athanasiou scores, so back-to-back shots in 8 seconds. They don't help Sawchenko's save percentage. It's Athanasiou, Fomor, and Mata at 6:06. So all of a sudden the Kings are ahead, whereas 10 seconds before that they'd been behind. That was wired from just inside the blue line, too. Karlsson then with a net feed. That was stopped by Quick before it got to its destination. Post for Balsers. Hurdle then with a wraparound. That was saved. He'd remember that for later. Dahlin is then... Sharks have a power play. That was killed off. Dahlin is then denied from in close. Kempe had a rush chance that was saved and held. And then there's a late power play for the Kings. So to start the second period, the Kings have a 34-second power play. Couture has a shorthanded rush that's saved. The Sharks did finish it. Between the first and second, that power play generated 4 shots for the Kings. Hurdle has a net drive, fires it wide. Kopitar can't bury one as the Kings press. Myers denied on a rush, but that rush and that play ends up drawing a power play for the Sharks. Kings killed it off, then they get a rush chance of their own as that's finished. Bjornfot was denied on a fast break. There's some pushing and shoving after a save by Quick. Not as much of that as I expected in a game between two California teams, though. The Sharks go right back to the power play. During that power play, LA scores shorthanded. It's more from Danault at 10:41. And really strong puck pressure led to that goal. However, on that same power play, San Jose does score. It's Bonino from Dahlin and Middleton at 12:08. And that was a weird one. It just sort of bounced around and in, and technically it goes off Quick's stick, but it had this whole curling around Quick thing. And anyways, it was bizarre. Kings then get a power play that's killed off, but after the second period, the score is 3-2 in favor of the LA Kings. Third period takes 1 minute and 22 seconds for Barabanov to score from Karlsson and Hurdle. And it was driving me nuts because the King announcer kept saying Barabanov, and I'm like, nope, there's an extra A in there. It's Barabanov. Nope. He was saying it's one of those things. And it's funny because I know as a YouTuber, I am well aware that there's names that I get wrong, and I know it drives other people crazy. I just want to say, hey, as a hockey fan watching hockey games, it drives me nuts too. So it was a great tip by Barabanov to get that goal. Mata fires wide as the Kings press. The Kings get a power play. It is unsuccessful. Nieto can't bury one from in close. Roy has a net drive that's then saved and held. We then get a power play for the Sharks. There's a shorthanded chance for Kempe. That was denied. But that power play is killed off. The Kings press. However, during their press, they take a penalty. During their penalty, We then get 56 seconds of 4-on-4 as Hurdle goes to the box, and he argues the entire way to the box. He's not a happy camper. Sawchenko was keeping it tied, and everything gets killed off. And again, it felt like every time Sawchenko handled the puck, the LA announcers were talking about, oh, he doesn't look, he's kind of out of position. He kind of fumbled that one. Okay. Sharks press with 2 minutes left. Athanasiou has a shot that's saved and held. Kopitar fires one wide in the closing seconds. So we go to the overtime. And Kings control on the face-off. They don't end up generating a shot. The San Jose Sharks get it. And Hurdle scores at 1:13. And it's a wraparound goal. And he draws Quick out. Quick dives to try to get the puck. He's not in position. So Hurdle just goes around the net, puts it in. And that's after the first period where he had the wraparound that wouldn't go in the net. So I like that. It's a callback. San Jose wins 4-3 in overtime. They go to 25-25-7. The LA Kings 32-19-8. So they lose a point on Calgary, but they gain a point on Vegas, who lost tonight. So some interesting results. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.